Historical Society on BCTV is supported in part by the Highlands at Wyomissing.
Hello and welcome to the monthly program of the Historical Society of Berks County. I'm your host, George M. Miser IX, President of the Historical Society of Berks County and publisher of the Historical Review of Berks County, the Society's quarterly magazine published continuously since are available from the late 1930s to the present time. It should be noted that this program is telecast live on the first Wednesday of each month at 7. It repeats Friday at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9. Welcome all to the May 2010 program. Seated beside me is Kimberly Richards, Society Archivist, whose office is in the Henry Janssen Library building on the grounds of the Historical Society of Berks County. And beside her is Simon Bertlett, Society Executive Director.
Morning, evening, George.
Good to see you folks. Thanks for being on.
I'd like to remind the audience that the Historical Society of Berks County Museum, the Henry Janssen Library, and also the museum store are open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I'd also like to remind the audience that the museum store has been newly redecorated and, like always, is featuring a broad selection of Berks County merchandise that relates directly to the historic legacy of Berks County. We have brought some along here, some pottery. These are just a small sampling of the large inventory that we have, but we have books on all subjects of Berks County and Pennsylvania Dutch folk life, pottery by many different potters from Berks County, as well as artwork of varying styles. So I invite all the viewers to drop by the Historical Society again from Tuesday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. to see what the gift shop has to offer. I know you'll be surprised and you'll pick up some great gift-giving ideas while you're there.
We'd like to remind our viewers that for $40 a year you can be a member of the Historical Society of Berks County. Membership in the Society includes our prize-winning quarterly magazine, the Historical Review of Berks County. Memberships include unlimited use of the museum and library. Incidentally, family memberships, that's members in the same household, are $50 a year.
And while we're on the subject of memberships, I'd like to plug our good friends here at BCTV. They do a wonderful job in a very tough market. BCTV is truly an interactive format that allows the audience and the citizens of Berks County to take part in issues that relate directly to them. And I urge all of you to take a membership, give them a call if you have any questions, and like I said, join BCTV. It's a really worthwhile organization.
And we'd like to remind you that the phone number for the studio is 610-378-0426. Why not salute BCTV for the great shows it provides to Reading and Berks, and send your check for membership in BCTV for a year's membership. Mail your check to BCTV, 645 Penn Street, Reading 19601. Remember, time passes, but operating expenses never go away. I think we're going to start off with some slides. Okay, we're all in for, I think, some surprises. Myself, particularly, since I hadn't shown these for quite a number of years. Can that be lightened just a little bit? Is that possible? Not too possible. Anyhow, we're at the intersection of 5th and Penn, looking west-northwestward down to the Marble Ranch building at 4th and Penn, where the Reading Times was published in the very early years, printed there. We have the Whitner's building. Whitner's was in business for 90 years. He started out, Calvin Whitner started out as a general merchant in Spangsville, went into Oley Village, worked in the general store at Oley Village, came into Reading, bought out a partnership in Pearson and Brothers, and then opened his own store up the block, heading eastward, the Whitner's complex that we remember. And we see there, directly below the Whitner's sign, the 1761 Farr building, a building that predated, was older than the United States of America at the time that it was torn down.
George, were you the one that was telling me the Whitners had their own continuing education for the sales clerks that were? I thought that was and Pomeroy's. Yeah, they both did. I mean, that's almost like, you know, talking about Neiman Marcus in larger cities or in New York.
How to merchandise, all about the merchandise, and it astounds me that they put out a printed magazine on good paper for the store employees. For the store. A magazine.
And they had continuing education classes at night that the clerks would go to, and I'm sure that they were probably all on straight commission, but they...
Well, they received so many points for attending those things, and it was reflected in their pay.
Is that right?
Yeah, so if they knew the merchandise and how to deal with people. We have a home viewer. Yes, home viewer.
Yes, Mr. Miser. I remember Whitner's store. I'm in my 40s. I'm not that old, but my mother and father went in there, and it was a very high-toned store.
It was.
And but you know, I knew a lady. You might have known her. She's long passed away, Mrs. Jones, and that's what we called. That was her name, of course. I didn't know her first name. And she lived in the Greystone building at 100 North 11th Street.
On the corner of Washington and 11th.
Yes, and I'm very familiar with that building, and I see you had that in one of your volumes.
Yes.
And, well, I resided there in the first floor as a child. Believe me, there's a ghost in there. And that was built in 1897, by the way. And it was only converted to apartments in 1920. It was a private residence.
That's astounding. That was a big building.
I wanted you to know that, and I knew a very old, I don't want to get off of the main subject, but I knew very elderly people as a child that said there was a little girl that had the entire third floor filled with toys. They were very wealthy people. But getting back to this, Mrs. Jones was the chief librarian of Whitner's. And I found
like Pomeroy's, you could go in there and rent books.
Oh, I see. Well, I didn't know that. And when she passed away in her 90s, I believe her brother was a minister of the Lutheran Church, Reverend Jones.
Sure.
I used to see him in town.
That was the son of George Jones, who was a teacher at Boys High School years back.
Huh.
Well, they were very distinguished people, and they were related to the Swedish settlement in Berks County. But I'm glad you told me that, because I never fully understood. I knew they had an excellent book department. There was always a higher class of books in there. There was never a low group of books. There was never cheap novels and things like that. It was always the classics. You could get, I still have it, an old-time, very, I guess, prudish almost joke book, you know, that would never be, you know, for Toastmasters and things that weren't too ribald and so forth. But Mrs. Jones always had a Christmas party at 100, well, on the third floor of 100 North 11th Street, and which I was invited to, and she used little sugar cubes with decorations on it and so forth. So I do thank you for informing that, because I really didn't know what that was that she
Both
did.
Whitner's and Pomeroy's at one time had, I think you rented the books for like a nickel a day, something like that. And Pomeroy's had their library on the mezzanine. I remember going up there and looking over some of the titles.
Well, my mother as a child, remember Pomeroy's, of course, we're going off of the subject a bit, but Pomeroy's, they always referred to the place where you ate as the tea room.
Oh, yes.
And Whitner's had a specific sort of dining. It had food that no one else really had. Again, it was a Cadillac department store. It really had a better way about it.
And it was the first store in Reading to have an escalator.
Yes, I have seen that pictures. But
1948,
you know, Reading,
I think they put that in.
But Reading,
I was in there, and the guy made me, the floor-walker made me go away. We were riding up and down the escalator that one day when they first put it in.
Well, I do recall the person, I don't know what employee did it, that always dressed as Easter Bunny would give you little Easter jellies or whatever. But no, I'm so glad you brought this up, because you know, as you walk in the city of Reading, despite its decline, sometimes I call it, you know, come to Reading and see how Rome fell. But you do see glorious architecture, and a layout which is unbelievable. And I'm so glad that you're talking about Penn Street.
Oh, I'm glad. Thank you for calling.
Right.
I look back in those days, they had floor walkers in both Pomeroy's and Whitner's. And I would go in there to get my mother Christmas gifts, and you would walk in and there'd be one of those elderly ladies nicely dressed. I used to look for the same lady every year, and she would walk with me and give me suggestions what to buy. You wouldn't find that in the store today. absolutely nowhere. That was a high-class store. It was a great store. Okay. Well, there is Pomeroy's, and that picture, you can tell exactly what year that was taken. By the way, that's before the Heisman Building sign was put up. You see there? That was taken in the year 1900, which is when they tore down the original old stone Heisman Building, built of stone brought down from Neversink Mountain from Heiner's Whistle. And there you see the 1884 original DPNS store on the left side of the 1900 edition. And going down the side, on the right-hand side, you see part of the original old Heisman home. And at one time, there was actually a theater, a Heisman theater, in a building there to the left of the structure that you're seeing on the screen. Again, the year was 1900. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to... When did they took that down? Now, what is in its place? It's Wachovia.
The bank.
The bank.
Yeah, there's a bank.
Did they raise that to the ground?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So there's nothing left whatever. What they did was, what you see in the corner was the first of the modern additions. Then they went and they bought an old bank building to the left of that 1884 building, and they put up the second new part.
Okay.
And then about 7 years later, they tore down the 1884 building and put the middle section in, so that when you went into Pomeroy's, you actually were in 3 different parts, built at 3 different times. Right. And then, of course, they had parts going down the side, heading southward. But that's 1900.
Good shot.
Yeah, we're at 7th and Penn. That's a picture showing the old hotel. It was a railroad hotel at one time. And of course they tore that down to put up what became, for a long time, Reed's department store. And in the last days that it stood, I think Zeswitz had been in there as one of those temporary measures before they moved down to Exeter Township. But many of us remember the old fellows that used to congregate around the watchman's box there at the railroad when they put the gates up and down by hand. That was a favorite place for old pensioners to gather, and they would sit around. There was like a little ledge, and they had a bench over there against the Reed's department store building, in that case, the old railroad hotel, and the guys would sit there by the hour and just trade stories. A number of them were retired railroad men, but that was a neat place for the old guys to congregate. 7th and Penn.
Be interesting to know how much that camel sign, how I look at that and say, I wonder how much it costs to rent that space, because those signs stayed up for years.
For years, absolutely. Yeah.
Which corner is that?
That would be the northeast corner, 7th and Penn. Oh, that's where the nothing is today.
Where nothing is, they are parking the corner of a parking lot.
Yeah.
Of the parking lot. There's the old elk.
Okay, we're up in the city park, and there's the elk statue put up in the late 1890s. There's always been a question about what happened to that. Well, the base disappeared first, and then later on the elk sort of stood forlornly without a base up in the park, and then it disappeared. It has been suggested that might have gone to the war effort during the scrap drive, which is really a shame. That was one of 2 places in Reading where you could get iced filtered water. Huh. They packed the base of that thing with ice. I remember the Reading Eagle did a story about 1907. The reporter sat up there one Sunday night in the summertime, and he counted the number of people who went for iced filtered water. The water ran in, was pumped into that building that's still up there, I think, that white brick building where they used to change police shifts. It came down through a filter, went into the base of that, and they packed the base of that with ice. The other fountain that provided iced water was the WCTU fountain that was at 1904 at the corner of 5th and Penn. It used to be right against the curb, now they have it sort of in the middle of the sidewalk. Let's take a little break, and we'll go on with some other material that we have.
Okay. We want to lead off. Why don't we tell the audience about the members' treasures? You have that up there, Ken? The current exhibit in the main gallery of the Historical Society right now is called Members' Treasures Exhibit, and it really is special. And if I mentioned it on last month's program, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to hear it again. It's special for a number of reasons. When the Historical Society, when Joshua and Kim Richards here, when they put together an exhibit, in many cases, or the guest curators that do these things, we have to go far and wide to find the artifacts that we showcase in these exhibits. I mean, look at the long rifles. When you looked at that, you know, that was all over the eastern seaboard. Our current exhibit that we'll talk about later, Monterbach Silver, again, far and wide to go get those exhibits, artifacts for the exhibit. But this exhibit is different in that this comes from right in our own backyard and from probably HSBC's greatest treasure, and that's our members. And without them, this exhibit wouldn't have happened. And it's like all the collections at the Historical Society. Most of what we have is given to us by the generosity of the people that we have as members in the Historical Society. And you know, we appreciate that very much, because we couldn't do what we do, and that is preserve the historic legacy of Berks County, were it not for those members. So this is really special and very meaningful to us to be able to do this thing. But go through some of the treasures, the artifacts that are on loan here. And this is great. This is a salesman sample of a steam engine that actually works. We haven't fired it up, but it does work. But then George can tell us about some of them. He had a very crucial hand in making this a reality. But that's one of the Socialist Party. That really surprised me.
Yeah, the Socialists were very active in both Reading and Muhlenberg Township years ago. As a matter of fact, there was a time in the late 30s when absolutely every elective office in Muhlenberg Township, down to the dog catcher, and they did have one, was a socialist. You had Norman Thomas, who ran for the presidency of the United States, and you had James Maurer. James Maurer was very active in the city of Reading years back. It was his son who latterly ran the Park Theater. And the meeting there was in the Orpheum Theater, which some people might remember as the Plaza on North 5th Street. It was a part of the old shrine at the temple, the Masonic Temple, before they tore it down. But the Socialist Party started out in Berks County as an outgrowth of the Cigar Makers Union, and they had their own headquarters behind 6th and Walnut, behind the latest section of the Community General Hospital. There was, next to the fire company, there's an empty lot, and where that empty lot now is, there was a 2-story building, and that was the Labor Lyceum, and it was there that the Socialists met. They really had a very interesting history. We had a dear friend and a good member of the Historical Society for years, Raymond Kiebach, who was very active in the Socialist Party and was the purchasing agent during the last administration of the Socialists. Mayor Stump was in office 3 times. So the Socialists really had a stronghold in Berks County and Muhlenberg Township.
It really, and it's unique because Berks County, when you think about it, it's almost a paradox. Generally speaking, Berks County is pretty conservative. And to have the Socialist Party have such a strong foothold, I don't know. I'd like to do some research on that to really get an understanding of that. But that's another one, George. Tell us about that one. You knew when they brought these in for Discovery Days.
Yes, there were 2 fellows, John Lyons. Let me think. I'm having a mental blank. John Lyons, his last name. There were 2 brothers who were born with a major bone disease. Every time they did some sort of activity, they would break a bone. And to make getting around easier for them, so they'd have a certain degree of independence, because John surprisingly lived a fair length of time. At 23rd and Perkiomen Avenue, there was at one time a carriage building works. It would be where the empty lot is on the on the southeast corner, where the bank, I guess the bank owns that property today. There was a large building there where they made carriages, all by its carriage works, and they made 2 of these carriages for the. Not terrible. I have a mental blank. No. For the 2 brothers, and. What they did, but they would sit in there. I was expecting, looking at some of the pictures, that those things might be bigger than they were, but those were for fully grown men who were of diminutive size. But they would sit in there and they would turn that crank, and you can see how with the chain going to the back wheel, it would move them on the straightaway. When they came to a hill, they would look for a kid to help push the thing up the hill, and they used that when they went around to sell peanuts, and essentially they sold peanuts and some other things, pretzels once in a while, but whatever they could do to earn a buck. The one brother was active at the Reading Fair years ago. He always had a stand, but I knew that those carts existed. Did he say that there were two, and I'm not sure about that. I'm a little fuzzy on that second cart, but this one is fully functioning, and we were very fortunate that Mr. Orth from Pennside made this available for the society, because I had never seen this until the Members' Treasures gathering, and he was good enough to bring this thing in to show the people generally. This is a real treasure. It really is.
Yeah, well, those fellows were fixtures around the city of Reading, yeah. Huh. Reading Fair.
Oh, the old Reading Fair. Oh, yes, we all remember the old Reading Fair tickets. You know, there was a day when, years ago, when people really patronized fairs. Tuesday was Reading School Day, and every kid virtually in the city of Reading, they gave you off. Can you imagine? They wouldn't do that today.
No, they did give you off.
They gave you off, and you would go in. I remember Reading schools went in on a Tuesday, and everyone went to the fair that day. You know, there was a time when they would take you from 7th and Franklin out to the fairgrounds by train, and it was a very inexpensive ticket, and they actually had a little depot on the back of the fairgrounds. What would be there today? Like the back part of the mall. There's nothing there today. But they had their own depot there, and you would get off of the fair depot, and you'd spend the day.
Yeah, all your friends. You'd go out to the fair with your friends.
Everybody
was really.
That
was a fun. That was a really fun fair.
Everybody. Yeah, it really was.
Matchbooks, yeah.
Oh, the matchbooks. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a collector for everything.
There is. It's just amazing. Huh, what else we got? Okay. Oh, and then we're fortunate that at the Historical Society, when we opened up the Henry Janssen Library, it freed up space for what was our previous library, and that was the Palmer Library. Well, we asked the question, what are we going to do with this, with the space when it's open? Well, we wanted to have more exhibition room because we wanted to be able to be a little bit more varied in the type of exhibits that we produced here at the Historical Society. And the Palmer Gallery now has given us just that opportunity to do more, I would say, specific, maybe esoteric, intellectual exhibits that focus on one particular topic. And this one, the one that we opened recently on the 1st of May is just that, and that's called the Manor Box, Reading's Master Silversmiths, 1785 to 1870. And again, it is a unique to Berks County. One of the things that I like so much about this exhibit is that not only does it showcase some true artists from Berks County's history, but it dispels a major myth that I think has been prevalent for far too long. And that is that, you know, when major urban areas such as Philadelphia would talk about, you know, Berks County, even our neighbors, Lancaster, York, whatever, you know, they always looked as the frontier or the hinterlands, and that if you wanted really high quality, beautiful pieces of art such as silver, maybe case clocks and things like that, you had to go to Philadelphia. Well, the Manor Box dispelled that, and they didn't only do it for one generation, they did it for 3 generations. And Terry Royal West and HSBC trustee Allison DuPont have just done a masterful job with this exhibit. This exhibit has over, I believe it's 200 pieces that make up the collection, and they come from private collections as well as museums all over the eastern seaboard. And it really does showcase a beautiful piece of Berks County's artistic heritage.
You look at that and wonder how in the world did they do that with a hammer?
With a hammer.
With a hammer.
From start to finish almost with a hammer.
That's just unbelievable.
You know, they had people coming, it really surprised, they had people, wealthy citizens and wealthy residents of Pennsylvania coming from not only Philadelphia, but all over the state, coming specifically to Reading just to have the Manor Box to commission pieces from them. It really is unique, and need to stop in. This exhibit's going to be running through December 31st. There is a picture of the Historical Review of Berks County, but in addition, we also, if you can get a shot of this right here, I can hold it up, but this is a catalog that was produced especially for the Manor Box Silver exhibit, and it's beautiful. It's about 60 pages, maybe a little bit more, featuring all the different pieces that are in the collection and on this display. So really is unique. This one costs, I believe, price is $12. I know the price is $12.
$12.64 or something like that.
$12.72, I think, when you add tax in. But it really has. So if you're interested in the subject matter, or whether you're a collector, this is a keepsake that you need to have in your library. It is really that good. And I'll also point out that one of the other things, again, about the Mannerbach exhibit is, like beer and pretzels, like the long rifles, many or most of the artifacts that are on display came from private collections. So when December 31st rolls around, those pieces are going to go back into those private collections, and
they'll never be brought together again.
No, not in this way. So this is something you need to really stop by and take a look at. This is worthwhile, and this is something that we love doing.
And the society took the means to produce two almost exhaustively complete, fully researched publications within a short time, the book on the long rifles and this. Yep. Major collectibles in years to come. There's no doubt in my mind about that. They're really splendid pieces of research and publication. The pictures in there are exquisite.
Yeah, they really are. They really are. George, before we go back to the next subject or more, can we touch on the fundraiser?
Sure, go ahead.
One thing, every year the Historical Society holds what I like to call a friend-raiser. And it's a fundraiser, make no mistake about that. But it's somewhere where we can do something and bring the members, our new friends, our old friends together. And this year is no exception. On June 4th, 2010, we are going to be holding Stokesay's Renaissance. And we're going to be showcasing one of the architectural icons of Berks County, and that is Stokesay Castle. Stokesay Castle opened up in the early 1930s. And it truly was, again, an icon of in Reading and Berks County. Where else do you find a 13th century manor house, you know, besides England? Well, you find one right here in Reading and Berks County. Anyway, the fundraiser will take place on June 4th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. We're going to start with a cocktail hors d'oeuvre reception at 6 o'clock. Okay. Then afterwards, we are going to have, we're going to sit down to a beautiful dinner with entertainment provided by Maria D'Amore, the wonderful vocalist that we have right here in Reading. And following dinner, we're going to have a special presentation by none other than Mr. Berks County historian, our own George Miser IX. And George is going to talk to us about and tell us about Stokesay and its history. Tickets for this event, you can call the Historical Society at 610-375-4375 to get more details. I will tell you, tickets are $100 a piece, of which $60 is tax deductible, and all the proceeds go to help fund the youth education programs from the Historical Society.
We're looking forward. That's going to be a very special evening. Let's pause. I think BCTV has a message for us.
You're watching the Historical Society of Berks County on hsbctv.org. Be informed, be involved, be a member. For membership information, go to www.bctv.org/support/membership. For other information on local heritage societies and local history, go to bctv.org. The Historical Society of Berks County on bctv.org is underwritten by the Highlands. To find out how you and your business can support a program on BCTV, go to bctv.org.
Okay, let's have a few more slides, and then we'll switch over to Kimberly. Okay, that's an interesting old view of City Park. That comes from a stereo view taken approximately 1898 by some unknown photographer. There you see the greenhouse. And notice the front of the greenhouse along Constitution Boulevard, which doesn't look the same today. What happened was it was made of structural steel and glass, and with the humidity inside, you can imagine what happened to the structural steel over the course of time. But you can see what is Constitutional Boulevard, which runs sort of across the middle of the screen. That was part of the old racetrack dating back to the days when the Berks County Fair was held in the park. And there you can actually see a goodly portion of that old loop that was part of the racetrack. And of course, we're looking down over the city of Reading, and St. Joe's, the old St. Joe's, would be off to the right.
George, do you have any pictures of when they held the fair there?
Yes. There are only 4 pictures, 5, that show the fair in the park, the main part of it. It's in one of the passings. Volume 4, I think, has a couple of pictures in.
Is that right?
Yeah, those are very rare because the fair left the park in 1887. There was no fair in 1888, and in 1889 it opened up in the new fairgrounds out on the property now occupied by the Reading Post Office, that complex near Albright College. Oh, yeah. So that any picture that you have of the old fairgrounds predates 1888. I will say this about the old fairgrounds: the Fireman's Band Shell, Memorial Band Shell in the park, where you go to, where they have concerts in the summertime. It was on that exact site where the grandstand was for the fair, and you sat there to watch the races. So they used that exact same site where the grandstand had been for a site for the present-day band shell. You go up in the winter time and you stand along 11th Street and look up, and you see that man-made mound that supports the band shell. That was all done with mules, picks, wheelbarrows. That big elevation was all man-made because years back, City Park was a gentle slope from 11th Street all the way up to the mountain. Very gentle slopes. That huge mound that they put there was all done by hand. An incredible amount of labor in the 1850s.
What is that?
Oh, that was the Northeastern Lumber Company. That was the fairgrounds originally. I remember doing a story years back on the old fairgrounds. They left the fairgrounds at 11th. It would be between 11th and 13th at City Line, and in the foreground you can see part of the old, in the foreground right where the crease goes through, that was the old Fairgrounds Hotel. Every fairground had a hotel at one time because there were people who would stay there for the week of the fair, the entire week. When they built the new fairgrounds, which opened for the season of 1915, this was abandoned, and they used some of the old fairground buildings. You see the main exhibition hall there on the left-hand side going out of the picture itself. That was used for storage. Northeastern Lumber Company took over that site, and when that sort of closed down, the post office was built on that area. As a matter of fact, when you drive 13th Street near Albright College to mail a letter, you're actually going over the easternmost portion of the racetrack. So the racetrack would actually be under today's North 13th Street at Albright College. As a matter of fact, they still have races there after 11 o'clock at night. That's inside that Fairgrounds Hotel. That was at the old fairgrounds. And right across the street was a brewery that operated under four or five different names. Fairview Brewery was one of them. That's inside the old hotel, which became the office building for Northeastern Lumber Company. Interesting picture. You can tell when this was taken because they're building the Lindbergh Viaduct. So we're talking about 1927 during construction. Notice the tracks. The trolley went up there for the Gravity Railroad. That went from the station up to the Gravity Railroad, and that's building the Lindbergh Viaduct. That's a very, very old picture. We're looking at the Mineral Spring Park Hotel, originally built as a mill in 1812, converted to a hotel in 1814. That is today the East End Club. There you're looking at the building as it existed about 1888. We're looking downhill is what we're actually doing. Now there was a dam right below the hotel building which was taken away in later years, but that was actually a reservoir for the city of Reading one time. That was a water supply. That is Rose Valley Creek. That is a very rare picture. The only one I've ever seen of the mineral spring in Mineral Spring Park. Notice they're tasting the waters. That's a very rare picture.
Was that a literary club?
I don't know. I think it's actually a drinking club. That picture was
a fine line.
Yes, I guess it would be. Picture that's early. That's about 1870. That's an oldie. Okay, we're up at the Highland House, and we thank our good friend Jack, who supplied this photograph for us. Up at the Highland House, which was a frame building, and because it was framed, it fell victim to what happened to all the mountain resorts. It burned in 1930. I remember talking to a woman who said, as a child, she went out and she looked up at the mountain, and the moon was right above the Highland House, and she was afraid the moon would burn. Jack Yetzer from Burnville made this photograph available to us. That was after the fire of 1923. When the tower burned in 1923, by the way, we would be looking southward. The tower was here, and no, wait a minute. Yeah. No, we're looking the opposite direction. We're looking sort of eastward. That's the old Summit House Hotel, or what was called laterally the Tower Hotel, which was taken down in 1959. For a while, they had a TV studio up there. But after that burned in 1923, that was the end of the Gravity Railroad, which operated from 1890 to 1923. With the main attraction out of the way, some of the directors of the Gravity Line said, well, why don't we make the new attraction the hotel? And what happened was it closed in 1920 with Prohibition, and between 20 and 1923, the kids...
Yes, there was no good reason to go up to the mountain after 1919.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, so things sort of went downhill. Let's take another little
downhill for the last time.
For the last time.
At least until 1933.
Anyhow, let's go back to Kim. I think you have something to tell us.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, first off, we are heading into the busy months at the library, and as always, we are looking for volunteers. So if you have some free time on your hands and would like to come in, we have a number of shifts available, half day or full day, Tuesday through Saturday, from 9 to 4. If you're interested, either stop by the library or contact me at 610-375-4375. Along with helping researchers, we are still working on the Church and Cemetery Index. We're about halfway, I think, roughly, maybe 3/4 of the way, the church records, and we've got a long way to go for the cemetery index. And then, of course, we're working on the collection inventory, which I do have a little demonstration about the collection inventory. The collection inventory basically is an inventory of all of our archival artifacts. We're trying to provide better finding guides and make our collections more accessible to the public. We started this project last summer, and as of now, we are pretty much almost finished, which is with the library collection, which is a subject-based collection. We're about halfway done with the genealogy collection, which we're hoping to use as a way to house primary resources for families. And we have just started the archival collection. We're not even close to being finished. This is a project that's going to take many, many, many years. But
hopefully before your retirement.
I don't, hopefully. But one of the things that we're doing is we're going to make the inventory database available to the public, and it's going to be a keyword search. It's currently available on our internal website, so if you come into the library, you can view the database. And we actually had a researcher in last week who plugged in a name, came up, pulled out the folder, so it does work. We're getting ready to launch the database on the public website. I do have a preview of it on the computer. I already typed in a name. You're going to see something quite similar to this. You basically type in a keyword that you're looking for. In this case, I put in Montgomery because I've been sitting here trying to rack my brain on what's in the database. There's so much stuff. When you hit submit, It should provide you with a listing of everything based on that topic.
That we have in our
collection, right. And that is inventory. Please keep in mind that we're working on the inventory daily, so this is constantly being updated. As you can see, Montgomery not only covers historical societies, but it also covers a collection that we have that was donated by Morton Montgomery. You can see that there's a wide variety of documents, from brochures to postcards to carte de visites. We provide you with our collection codes and whatnot. If you collect on a specific, if you click on a specific one of the highlights, like sections, titles, you're going to get the actual entry for that item. It'll tell you where it's located in the collection. It'll give you our accession number, which is kind of like it's an internal numbering system that we use in museums. It'll give you its old collection reference, and that's to help with the card catalog, because the card catalog is just a behemoth that needs to be updated as well. It'll tell you what box, what folder, and where it's located in that folder.
And how large a collection it is, right?
Not quite.
Okay.
Because this is more item level.
Okay. Oh, this is item level.
Yeah. The internal, we have all these printed and available, and that'll tell you how large it is. This collection, I know for a fact, we call this like it's a 0.5. It's actually 0.25. It's one box. But it's and it'll tell you who inventoried it, which always comes in handy, and the condition that it's in. You will not, for those of us who are familiar with the website, the church records, you click on the name and you can print out a form. You will not be able to do this. This is mostly a catalog of what we have. If you were to click on it, it's going to eventually, it's going to direct you to information on our historical research service. We'll give you some idea on how you can either research it, but for the most part, you really do need to come in and take a look at these items.
But I want to reiterate something. I know George will back me up on this. This is big. I mean, this is real big. Mm-hmm. We're an old and we're a large historical society, as historical societies go in the entire nation. But even the biggest ones don't have, to the degree that we do, this type of database, okay? And I wish that this would go out, and well, it does. It goes out over the internet for people to watch this. But we have people that come from all 50 states and abroad, and this is big. The fact that they can go onto our website, they can type in their subjects, and they can pull up the information that we have. Give you an idea, we had a gentleman in from Boulder, Colorado last week, and he did a significant portion of his research before he got there, so that when he got there, his time wasn't wasted. He printed out the information that he thought was relevant to what he was doing and presented it to our volunteers so that they could help him find it. With this, we're even getting more of this information on, and we're getting everything that's in the inventory on, so people can do this kind of research. This is huge.
Most archives and historical societies, especially academic, if you go to any university website, you can look at their finding guides, but it's going to be in Microsoft Word or PDF format. They're not searchable. You have to read through a booklet to find what it is you're looking for. We're taking that step away and actually providing you with its location so that you're not reading 50 pages of information to find the one item that you're looking for.
And I would also point out that one of the reasons that this is important, and this goes to why Kimberly was asking and why we're always searching for volunteers, because when you come in and you act as a volunteer for the Historical Society, you can, like I said, you learn something and free up Kimberly's time, free up Lisa Adams' time, so they can continue to work on this. And as you get more comfortable with the collection, you can help work on it too. So we really, we're beseeching you to please help us. If you can volunteer, please do so.
And you realize that our holdings are enormous. As far as the collections are concerned, we're definitely, we have as much as we have more than most of the other historical societies all around the country. Our collection is incredible.
Daily.
Do you know how long we've been collecting material?
1869.
Not really.
Well,
try 1902, really.
Yeah.
Well, 1902, when we got our headquarters, then we really made a big push to gather. So lots that we have came to us in 1902.
We have a home viewer.
A home viewer, yes, home viewer.
Hello, Mr. Miser.
Yes.
My neighbor and I, we take a walk up to and through Center Park.
Yes.
And we were wondering, do you know what was on that piece of ground before it became the park?
John Barbie's mansion.
John Barbie.
John Barbie.
mansion.
Remember Sunshine Beer, Barbie's Sunshine Beer?
Yes,
well, John
yes.
Barbie was involved with that. And he had a wonderful mansion that fronted on Center Avenue. And when you walk through the back part of that park, you're walking through the back part of what had been his yard. There are 2 or 3 good photographs of that mansion that used to sit there. They appear in some of the passing scene books. I have no idea which ones, but there are 3 pictures of John Barbie's mansion. It was a very commodious structure. As a matter of fact, that block that has the Hendel House in it and the other properties, and then including the house down at the corner where the Red Cross is and the John Barbie mansion, there were incredible homes in that block.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I do have one more thing.
Yes.
We are getting our high-density shelving for the stack room.
Oh, great.
I'm all excited.
Yeah, that's what you should be.
Yeah, it'll be going, we're going to be ordering it in September, and we're looking to install it towards the end of November, sometime after Thanksgiving. So keep your eye on the website, because when we start installing the high-density shelving, the library's closing for a minimum of 3 weeks. And that gives us time to move stuff off, get the new shelving in, and put stuff on.
What do you mean high-density shelving?
High-density shelving is shelving that is built on tracks, and you can crank them open so you can compact them. You only need 1 aisle, so you can get more rows and more shelving in.
In the stack room that we have now, Kim will increase her storage capacity probably about 80%.
Really?
Yes.
70, 80%.
Yeah, almost
Really?
double. Yeah, it's big.
Well, that's big.
And we thank the Wine Listing Foundation for that.
And the Holland box.
And the Holland box, for sure.
Oh, that'll be incredible.
Yeah, it really will be. Yeah.
I think of the muscle that you build up in the right arm.
Oh, it's easy.
Is it? Okay.
We have another home viewer.
A home viewer. Yes, home viewer.
Hello. Hi, Mr. Miser.
Yes.
I got a question for you. I just got done reading a book that I've had for quite a while, and it's called Enemies in the Rear by Reverend Hoover, about Western Berks County.
Yes.
Is there any photographs of the properties or anything like that?
There's a complete set of photographs taken by William Wilberforce Dietrich. Now, does your edition have photographs in it?
No, it does not.
Okay. There's a complete set illustrating almost all the points, all the locations that are given there. They were taken by Reverend Dr. W.W. Dietrich from Kutztown University, teacher of higher branches of English and rhetoric. We have a collection of those in our collection.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. We have them, and I have a complete collection of those at home. I'm going to be putting some of those in one of the passing scene books coming up fairly soon, because people do ask about that. Now, of course, all the locations that are given in the book are false locations, but the pictures in most cases are real. And everything was coded because it hit so close to home for so many people. The reason that book is so valuable, and many times it'll go on public sale for $600, is that the people up there knew who the people were who were not mentioned in the book. They gave them false names like Lady Hannah. They knew who Lady Hannah really was, and because of that, there were delegations up there who went around buying books at public sale and burning them. W.W. Dietrich had 2 boxes in the basement that were sold at public sale for a considerable amount of money. They were taken out and burned.
Oh, my goodness. I have the key to the book.
There were 2 keys.
Yeah, and I was wondering if, and it said it had the Historical Society had photographs, so I wasn't sure.
We do. There's a set that's 5 by 7, and there's a set that's slightly like postcard size, but the answer is yes, and they're keyed and numbered.
Great. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
You're welcome. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'm good.
Time?
Maybe just tell the folks about some of the things that are coming up before we get back to some pictures. Okay. Few things. By the time this airs, like I said, we've already had the first Saturday program for May, but I would like to tell the viewers that the first Saturday program is no more. Over the course of time, we had come to find that most of the times first Saturdays were taken up by a holiday when we're closed, or a special event like a 4 Centuries in Berks Historic Property Tour. So to alleviate that, beginning in September 2010, first Saturdays will be moved to second Saturdays, so we shouldn't have that issue in the future. And in addition, in the past we didn't have a first Saturday program in January. This coming year, 2011, we are going to have a second Saturday program in January, so we will have second Saturday programs September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, and May. So we're picking up one extra one there. I would also like to tell the audience that on May 15th, the Historical Society is going to be honoring the International Museum Day, and with that we are going to be having free access into the Historical Society's museum. So free of charge on Saturday, May 15th, you can come to the Historical Society and see the Monterbach exhibits. You can see the Members Treasure exhibit and all the other static displays that we have at the Historical Society.
It's not eligible in the library.
It is a museum day, not a library day. So the museum is open free of charge. You still have to pay to get into the library. You did want to stick that in there, I know.
I did.
Anyway, let me say, okay, Vicki Hefner is also going to be, that's our education curator, Vicki Hefner is also going to be hosting the Historical Society's summer camp, which will run through June 22nd to June 24th. It's from 9:30 in the morning until 3 p.m. It's suitable for children ages 7 through 12. The cost on that is $35 per child if you are an Historical Society member, and that includes, it's good for the parents or children and grandchildren. So if you have a grandchild that wants to come and you're a member, you have it for that price, and it's $50 for non-members. There are going to be a host of activities. Please call the Historical Society at 610-375-4375 for more details.
Is that on our website as well?
Has that been loaded up yet?
I think so.
I
think it's on upcoming events.
Should be there.
It's on upcoming events, so that's covered onto there. I told you about the first Saturday programs. I'd also like to remind folks that the second Saturday, this is going to be May 8th, the Hendel House will be open for its second Saturday program, and this will be your last chance to see the Easter egg tree. We decided we were going to leave it up, and so that's up, and you'll be able to, it's the last chance to see the Easter egg tree, and that is really great. And I won't go into detail now, but I want to tell you, 4 Centuries Tour for 2010 is super. We've got all the properties finalized. It's going to be in Bern Township, and I know you've heard me say it before, but I'm telling you, this year it's great, and the proximity is very close too, so very easy to get to, magnificent properties, and that's going to be on Saturday, October 2nd, so mark your calendars. George.
Okay. I'm going to be doing some, I'll be at the Hendel open house this coming Saturday from 11 to about 11, 12, 1, like what, 2 o'clock maybe. Okay. I'll be there, so if any of you want to talk about anything with local history, you have any questions, come over to see us at the Hendel. I'll be there for about 2 hours, 3 hours this coming Saturday. Anything else you want to add? If not, maybe we can get a few slides before. But do we have any time for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what we have.
Like 4 minutes.
Okay, that's a neat picture. We're looking at the Schuylkill River. We're looking downriver, and what we're seeing there is the Lancaster Avenue Bridge, or the Bingham Street Bridge, one that burned in 1876. In 1869, by the way, See, this was a three-span bridge. In 1869, the one span on the left-hand side, on the Reading side, washed away with the Great Freshet. There were two real major freshets in that time period, the one of 1850 and 1869. That part of the bridge washed down the Schuylkill, and they got on the telegraphy set, the Reading Railroad, and they called Douglasville and said, hey, there's a covered bridge coming down the Schuylkill. They got grappling hooks, ropes, and whatever, and they pulled it out of the Schuylkill River and put it up at Douglasville, which is why, until the thing burned in 1950, you crossed a big covered bridge at Douglasville. People used to ask, why did they have such a big bridge? Why did they build such a big bridge at Douglasville when there wasn't that much traffic? And the answer was, they didn't build it, they picked it out of the river.
That's one big bridge.
Yeah, that was
one big covered bridge.
And that was a big covered bridge, right. This, by the way, is the Union Canal over here on the right-hand side, and the Schuylkill Canal would be on the left-hand side. And we're looking downriver. Yes. Want to guess where that was, Simon?
Bowman's hats?
Yeah, you're close.
Handel hats.
Handel hats.
Yeah, Handel hats.
Handel hats. The last Handel hat factory that was standing, the one laterally in use, I think they were using it for storage and like for gathering paper goods, used to be at South 3rd. Were you with me when we had gone to see that fellow? Was it about hot dogs or something for one of our events? And it was right across the street.
Oh, yeah.
It was right across. It was down to like 2 minutes. Okay, the Handel Hat Factory in South 3rd Street, it was torn down as part of that riverfront renovation that goes on. Pick up a little speed here. Okay, we're looking from the Spring Township, Cumru side of the river over into Reading. You see that trestle? That trestle is long gone. They filled it beneath with dirt and stones because as the trains got heavier, the trestle was very much a concern for safety. Some of you might remember what they called the Spruce Street Iron Truss Bridge. Back in the 1970s, they were moving some car frames, I guess from Parrish. And they shifted and damaged the bridge, and some of those things fell into the river, and they took away that bridge. That used to lead to what they called that Iron Truss Spruce Street Bridge. It crossed the Schuylkill and went over there sort of in the Millmont area towards Lake Angelica. This is very familiar to me. This was Kissinger's Lock. I grew up 2 blocks away from Kissinger's Lock, which explains to a degree my interest in the Schuylkill Canal. When I was a kid, there was a family that squatted in there, and I would go down with my mother and to spend time with their daughter, Mary Jane Airgood. Kissinger's Lock, foot of West Douglas Street in Reading, and the flood of 1942 forced the family to leave. And that was the end of Kissinger's. And they tore the building down to get rid of the squatters and for safety reasons as well. Okay, I think we'll stop at this point.
That's the Crab Man.
That's the Crab Man. John Parker. Yeah, at 5th and Penn at the WCTU fountain selling his crabs. Anyhow, we thank you for spending the last hour with us. We're on live the first Wednesday of each month at 7. Repeats Friday at 10, Saturday at 6, Sunday morning at 9. You can also see our program on our website, and it's also available through the BCTV's website. I'm George Miser, your host and president of the Historical Society. We look forward to having you join us again the first Wednesday in June. Thanks for watching, and thanks for being part of this program.
Society on BCTV is supported in part by the Highlands at Wyomissing.